Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. It's just gone 3 o'clock here in Sydney, so we might just give it a minute or two, and then we might get into the webinar. Just an introduction, but thank you again so much for joining us today. My name's Damien. And I'm joined today by Sally, and we are both in the customer marketing team here at Mable.
Everybody, great to meet you.
Sorry, Sally, to cut you off there. To commence the webinar, we will do a welcome to acknowledgement of country. Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and we extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. A bit of housekeeping before we begin. If you have any questions during the webinar, can you please use the chat icon in the bottom navigation bar? You can see on the screen, I've circled where that chat icon is, or it should be on your screen. And what you can do is you click on that button and that chat box will open. And that way, during the webinar, if you do have any questions, you'll be able to add them in there. During the webinar, I'll be moderating the chat, and at the end, we will do a Q&A where we'll answer those questions. Just to protect your privacy, please keep your questions general and avoid sharing personal details. And I would like to note that both Sally and I are not clinical nurses. So if there are any questions that arise that require clinical expertise, we will take them on notice and follow up with you directly in the days following the webinar.
Shall we test out the chat function, Damien? How about people let us know where they're dialing in from while you go through some of these troubleshooting tips?
It's a great suggestion there, Sally. So yeah, if you can jump in and just say where you're watching us from today, that would be amazing. And while you're doing that, I'll just run through some troubleshooting tips that may arise. So if you're hearing an echo, you might have accidentally joined the webinar twice, or someone in the same room as you might also have their microphone on. If this is the case, please exit one of those devices. If this doesn't work, don't worry. I can have a view of the participant list and I can check if you're on multiple devices. And if I need to, I can remove one of those devices for you. Mary, I can see you've got your hand up there. You're calling in from Melbourne. That's lovely. Shirley from Canberra. We've got someone from Tasmania. Gosh, we're all around the country here. This is awesome. If you do hear a sudden loud screeching noise, don't worry, it's not Sally or I. If there is a sudden loud feedback loop, please don't panic. Our team is ready to immediately hit mute all to stop that noise so we can get right back into the session. And if you're having trouble getting in or worried about missing out, we know that technology can sometimes be tricky. If you are having trouble accessing the webinar, or if you need to step away, rest assured that we record this session and we will be sharing that recording with you tomorrow so you can watch it at your own pace. It's amazing. So thank you everyone who's put where they're calling from. We've got Alan from Adelaide and Joe from Caringbah South. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We will get into the webinar. So just a few things that we're going to run through today. So the first things will be around falls awareness. So understanding risks, impact, and also we'll talk about some preventability, some risk factors and at-home safety. So identifying personal and environmental hazards, assistive technology, overview of wearable devices and funding pathways, the support worker role, so best practices for safety and daily care routines, and some emergency responses. So steps to take and manage potential fall incidents. And as I mentioned before, if there are questions, we will come to them at the end. So I'm going to pass over to Sally, who will run you through why do falls matter.
Thank you, Damien. Great to have you all here today. Thanks for joining. We ran a webinar, very similar webinar for support workers recently. So it's definitely something that's important to us, and I think we know is a source of anxiety for a lot of people. So that's why we wanted to just do this webinar, just to help with some really practical tips. So it is actually the leading cause of injury-related hospitalization in older adults. So it's something that definitely can cause a lot of issues, and there's some really simple things that you can do that make it a lot easier. So 25% of people who are age 65 and above have had at least one fall per year, and the impact, it could be fairly smaller things like pain, but then moving on to fractures, a loss of mobility, and especially I know from personal experience of my family members, they have a real anxiety around falling after something's happened, but then it could also cause something like a serious injury or death if it's not some measures aren't put in place. And luckily, it's good to know that lots of falls are actually preventable with some really simple actions. And some of the things we're going to talk through today probably seem quite basic and common sense, but it's the sort of things that you can just put into your day to day that will make a big difference. So let's get into it. So there are some common risk factors. We split them into kind of more of a like personal and environmental factors, which we'll talk through first. So on a personal aspect, if there has been a fall in the past, then it can make maybe someone a little bit more weaker, or it can also lead to that fear of falling. There's definitely, as you're getting older, there's some changes in balance, strength, or mobility issues, which can make a fall more likely. Vision and hearing changes, in particular, if like vertigo or dizziness, that can lead to more falls. So it is important to discuss these things with your doctors when you do have your checkup, just to make sure that you're kind of on top of everything, including chronic conditions like diabetes or arthritis. Some cognitive impairments can also increase the risk of falls, such as dementia or Alzheimer's. There can be side effects of medication, which again, you should always discuss that with your GP, because it can make it more likely to fall. And just rushing around toileting as well. So we do have some tips around there to kind of just help minimize risk factors. And on the environmental side, having like a really nice clear pathway to things makes things a lot easier. So clutter, loose rugs. I think we've all seen it when the corner of a rug is coming away. That can actually be a fall hazard, as can any electrical cords that are in the way. And we all know how fun pets can be, but when they get excitable, they can actually be a fall risk as well. So I will cover a bit of info about that in the webinar. Surprisingly as well, poor lighting can be a bit of an issue, especially if there's not a well-lit route at night to where you need to go at night, and even glare off surfaces can cause an issue. Slippery or wet surfaces, so around your bathroom, maybe kitchen if you've dropped something, or outside, uneven paths or steps that are in disrepair can be a fall risk as well. Ensuring that you have all the right handrails in place is very important as well, because if there's inadequate handrails, grab rails, bathroom aids, it can make it a little bit more dangerous. And also walking aids, making sure that they are at the right height and that they're still in good repair, are good tips as well to reduce some of those risk factors. So here's some tips that we have. So we discussed some of those risk factors. Here are some of the things that you can do to reduce those risk factors. So for lighting, it's really important that lighting is really bright. So have a look around your house and just make sure that if there's any dark spots, can you increase the wattage in some of your bulbs? It's always a good opportunity just to walk through with a family member or a support worker just to kind of think through. Also making sure that lighting is consistent. So if in some rooms you have a bright wattage bulb and then some others it's lower, it can be a bit of a risk factor. So that's something to think about. A really important one is that route to the bathroom at night. So making sure there are night lights that can light the way. So you can get those little ones that you plug in into plug sockets. They're quite a good way. There's also some motion sensors that you can put in place if needed, or just leaving a light on at night. Kind of up to you to think through some of the options that you have. You can find some really good deals on Amazon or other like online shopping places for some of these night lights, etc. If you're interested in any of those, or at Bunnings. For floors, it's just important to scan and remove any trip hazards. So making sure that any mats have strong backing on them so that they are really firm to the floor, so they are quite heavy on the floor. You can also get some rug tape, like double-sided rug tape, and just make sure that rugs are taped down as well. And cords can be a real risk. So again, something that you can talk through with a family member or your support worker. Do you have too many cords in some areas? Like, are some of them not in use? Can they be tidied away? Maybe you need to tape down some cords, or you can also get cord tidies again on Amazon or something like that. They're all easy things that you can put in place that make it a bit easier. In the bathroom, some really good non-slip mats that you can put in your bath to make that surface have more traction, making sure there's grab rails in place when and where you need them. And also raised toilet seats are a good option as well if you find it difficult to get down to that lower toilet seat level. On stairs, it's really important that you've got the right handrails in place. So if they're a bit wobbly or if they're not really the right height for you, then that's something to discuss with a handyman maybe, or discuss with again, a support worker or family member. Contrasting edges is really important as well on stairs. So when people are losing their vision, it can be very hard to notice the edge of a step. So something that helps there is having contrasting edges. So potentially you could add some tape, you could change the surface of the stairs so that it's not all there's different colors on there as well. Again, something to talk through with a handyman or local tradie. And no clutter. Like, how easy is it when we're walking upstairs just to leave something there and forget about it? It actually is a full risk. So really just try and get in the habit of not leaving things on the floor, like if they need to be left on a table or something, just not on the floor where they could be a trip hazard. In the kitchen, a really good tip is just making sure that all the items that you're using regularly are in those cupboards that are easy to reach, preferably waist height, so you're not having to reach down. Or very good one as well is not in those high cupboards anymore, because step stools, they can be a big risk trying to get on them now and get off them. It's definitely a full risk. As we say there, we say step stool if approved. So see how you're going. You have a sense of your mobility, but that could be something that you talk to your GP about as well, around, should I be using stools anymore, or can you modify some of the things where things are on your kitchen to make it easier? It's been quite rainy recently, especially for us in Sydney. So there will be moth outside in outdoor areas, there may be moss, there may be weeds, there may be leaves around. That's really dangerous. That can be very dangerous when going outside, including uneven pathways as well. So all things that just have a look around, have a look for, and then speak to a tradie or speak to someone about getting those cleared up. And where we said secure pets, so I have a very rambunctious dog, so we all know what it's like when they get a bit excitable. So just keeping in mind, say you're doing something like carrying in your shopping or something, a time when you know it may be a little bit more risky, keep making sure that your pet is just closed away in a different room or is on their lead or something like that. Thank you, Damien. Next slide. And really good tips. Again, seems very common sense, but these are for risks. So always good to just kind of review these things. So for your footwear, should always be well fitting. So anything that's kind of slipping around or is the wrong size can be a full risk. Enclosed shoes we would recommend, and with a non-slip sole. So those old slippers that are backless, that are getting a bit worn out, time to treat yourself to a new pair so that you are feeling nice and secure on the floor. For vision tips, so the old adage, a place for everything, everything in its place. So just making sure you have that set place for your glasses so you know when you take them off where you can find them. In the case if you can, so they're not getting damaged. Also potential to have your glasses on a cord in the day so that you know where they are. Another tip as well is when you do get a new prescription, get some spares in the right prescription. So just in case you do lose your glasses, you then have the right prescription glasses in an easy place to find, so you can just switch over to those ones if you need to. And for hearing aids, just make sure that they're clean, they're regularly checked, so you know that they're still working. And a good tip as well is if you need more batteries, just make sure that you've got a storage of the batteries. They're in a nice, easy spot to remember where they are, and that you've labeled them. So you know where they are, so you can make sure you can always see, you can always hear, and you've got good shoes on. And when it comes to toileting and just going around daily routines, a really big time when falls occur is on the way to and from the bathroom. So do have a good think through of, again, your lighting, as I spoke about earlier, and just making sure you know that you're not in a rush, like you're giving yourself a bit of time when you need to go. Keep pathways clear, so no clutter around. You've got those night lights if you need them at night. And we're going to talk a bit more about this one shortly, but just having a phone or personal alarm within reach at night. Back to you, Damien.
Thanks for that, Sally. Those were some really great tips. I'm going to talk through some safety and independence tools now that you could look into purchasing. So the first one that I want to talk about is a product called INS Lifeguard Watch. Now, what's really good about this watch is it's discreet, powerful, and it's nurse monitored, and it offers real clinical support for anyone who wants to live independently, safely, and confidently wherever you are. So these watches can either be like an Apple Watch, or they also have the Android equivalent. And the good thing about the INS Lifeguard Watch is they have a 24/7 clinical response team that goes with it. So it connects directly to real qualified nurse responders via an emergency button. And it also has an automatic fall detection function. It's got smart triage and help. So nurses assess medical profiles, alert emergency contacts, or dispatch professional response teams. And the best thing about the INS Lifeguard Watch is it's a fully fundable solution. So if you have supported home funding, it meets that clinical justification requirements under the Assistive Technology and Home Modification Scheme. So if you do have funding, speak to your service provider about if you are looking at getting something like this, about applying for that AT or assisted technology and home modification scheme funding, and then you can purchase your INS Lifeguard watch using that funding. Some other tools, and these are tools which are useful, but again, you'd need to check with your aged care provider if they are funded under AT, the Assistive Technology and Home Modification Funding. But if not, if you want to purchase them yourself, you can definitely do that. So wearable fall alarms and pendants provide 2 layers of protection. So you've got the manual triggering. So what this is, it's a lightweight pendant worn around your neck or on a wristband. And it features a large emergency call button that the user can press if they are conscious and able to move. It also has a function which is automatic fall detection, which is that built-in smart sensors. It's got accelerometers and gyroscopes, excuse my pronunciation there. And it measures sudden changes in acceleration velocity. Now, if the device senses a hard fall, it will trigger that alert automatically without requiring you, the user, any input. So this is really vital if a person has knocked their head or if they've lost consciousness due to that fall. So we spoke about the INS, a smartwatch previously, but if you didn't want to go down the INS path, most smartwatches, such as Apple Watch or Samsung Galaxy Watch, have highly advanced built-in fall detections. So if a hard fall is detected and the user is immobile for 60 seconds, the watch sounds an alarm, it taps the wrist, and it automatically calls emergency services while sending location coordinates to the designated emergency contacts. So the difference between the INS and the smartwatches here is smartwatches currently are not classified under the Assistive Technology and Home Modification Scheme, where the INS watch is. So just depending on your preference and if you have the funding, will depend on which of the products you go for. Some other tools which are like access and communication backups. So voice-activated smart assistants. So if you fall but do not have a wearable technology on, smart speakers like Amazon Echo or Google Home can be used to call for help via a voice command from across the room, provided you can speak loudly enough. And another good tip is an external key safe. So a secure digital key safe box installed outside the front door of your home is a pretty essential companion technology. What that does, it allows emergency services or care teams to gain immediate entry if a personal alarm has been triggered and you can't physically open the door. So I was talking about the assistive technology and home modification. So this is part of that Support at Home program, which was introduced in November of last year. Now, this funding is separate to the Support at Home funding. So if you currently have Support at Home funding, or you're waiting for funding, if you need anything which comes under the assistive technology or home modification funding, you need to apply for that separately, because you're not supposed to use your funding for these products which fall under these categories. So if you do wish to apply for, I'm going to use AT and HM because assistive technology and home modification is a bit of a mouthful, so we'll go shorthand. The first step is to contact My Aged Care. So requesting an aged care assessment by calling 1800 200 422 or visiting myagedcare.gov.au and applying for it. An assessor will visit you at your home to evaluate your mobility and safety needs. Step 2 is when you received your approved funding. Now, the funding for AT and HM is broken up into 3 tiers. So there's a low tier, a mid tier, and a high tier. If you are approved, you'll receive a notice of decision letter with that assigned funding that you've been approved for. So low tier is up to $500, mid tier is up to $2,000, and high tier is up to $15,000. and the higher amounts can be approved with specialised clinical evidence. So once you've been approved for your funding, step 3 is to connect with your aged care provider. Once your tier is allocated, connect with your registered provider, and they will link your plan to Services Australia so you can activate your funds. And it's an important note that with the AT&HM funding, it does have a 56-day expiry period to begin services once approved. So it's really vital that once you are approved, you connect with your provider as soon as possible, so then you can be set up and then you can start spending those funds that you've been approved for. Step 4 is clinical consultation. And whether you're needing things which need a clinical consultation, or whether you're looking to purchase things like bath mats or things like that, before purchasing anything, it's really important that you discuss it with your needs with your care partner. And this ensures the item is eligible and aligns with your funding plan before you commit to that purchase. So the recommendation here is don't just go out and purchase something. Always refer to your aged care provider first, discuss with them your needs, and then they will say, yep, that's all part of your care plan. You can go ahead and purchase those products that you need. This ensures that the item is eligible and aligned with your funding before you commit to that purchase. If you're needing the customer equipment or home modifications like grab rails, ramps, or bathroom adjustments, your provider will help organise an in-home assessment with an occupational therapist or physiotherapist to map out the exact adjustments that are required. Once step 4 has been completed, install and receive your equipment. So under the new supported home guidelines, you don't always have to buy the equipment outright. You can buy, rent or loan items depending on what your long-term needs are. And that will all be laid out in your care plan. And your aged care provider will then coordinate it with the qualified trades people to ensure your home modifications are installed safely. I'm going to now hand back to you, Sally, and she will talk to you around support workers' role in preventing falls.
Thank you. And as I said, we did do this session, a very similar session with support workers recently. We do try to make sure that support workers do have access to a lot of training and upskilling in their roles to just make sure that they are able to offer really quality, safe support. So your support worker does play a really important role. They can very much help you put into place some of the tips that we walked through. Just a reminder, they can't provide clinical treatment unless they are a registered nurse, but they are able to all the things that we spoke through earlier, like walking outside with you and thinking about, is my paving fine, or should I get some gardening support to cut back some hedges, things like that. That's something they can very much do. They can help you go through your kitchen and have a think through, where's the best place for me to put my items, and then also think through, okay, do I need to should I be applying for more funding? That's something they could help you with as well for those assisted tech and home modification things that Damien spoke through. And they will also just make sure that they're checking through your care plan, and if anything changes, then they're there to make those changes for you. So at each support session, we do make sure that support workers do these things. So they should also be checking in to see if there's been any changes to your care plan since your last visit. They're there to help you remove any hazards, and they're there to just talk through safety and have a think through any additional things that you may need. If you did want to go buy some of those things from Amazon or a different provider, that's very much something they can help you do. You may feel like they're being a bit nosy sometimes, but it's kind of their role just to check in and see how you're going. So they may be asking you, like, how have you been feeling since our last visit? Have you had any health changes? Are you are you noticing that you're getting a ringing in your ears? Or, and I think they wouldn't specifically ask that question, but they would be asking questions around how you're feeling since your last visit. And if they did observe any changes, then they would document those. So when they submit their support notes, there actually is a tick box where, especially if you have support at home funding, it's actually a mandatory requirement that they do have to report if there has been any health and wellbeing changes. So if they do fill out that session that there have been, then that would be passed on to your aged care provider for them just to check in. And it's all just part of making sure that you're safe. And if you need any extra support, then we can get that in place for you. Now, it all seems very scary, all this stuff, but there's some stuff that you can do if you do experience a fall that will keep you a little bit safer. So, number one thing, it is really scary when you have a fall, and the first thing to do is, rather than rushing, just pause, take some breaths. Your adrenaline will be surging, could be in a state of shock. So it's best just to take a moment, take a pause, take some deep breaths to really just then think through how you're going. So don't try and get up straight away, because if you are dizzy or there's some medical issue, then it's best not to try and move straight away, because it could cause further injury or make you a little bit more dizzy. So just take some deep breaths, and that will help you stay calm and help clear your head so that then you're ready to think through what you need to do. And then next steps would be, first of all, is just to check if there is any injury or pain. So what you can do is you can kind of do a little body scan while you're down there. So very slowly just start to see, can I move my arms? Can I wiggle my toes? How are my legs feeling? And then just kind of do that full body scan so you can see if anything feels in a lot of pain, or if you feel like you have been severely hurt. You can also just have a little feel around. Is there any blood, any kind of damage, just so you can get that really good understanding of where you are at and have that understanding of if you're feeling dizzy. If you're in severe pain, or you know that something really has gone awry, don't attempt to get up. It's just going to make it worse. So just stay where you are. Next slide, please, Damien. So if you can't get up, use that technology that we just ran you through. So press your pendant, activate the fall detection on your smartwatch, or something that I actually have just put in place for my dad is, we've just got my dad Alexa, and he actually really likes using Alexa. So if you do get Google Home or get an Alexa, you can actually shout out and get there and alert them so that they know. If you don't have any of these in place and your phone isn't nearby, it's time to start making some noise. So try and find an object or something that you can be banging, or some way that you can alert neighbors or family, just so someone can hear and find out and understand that something is going wrong and that you need a bit more support. Then another tip is just try and keep yourself warm and comfortable. So can you pull a nearby rug on you? Or if you're in the bathroom, put a towel over yourself, or some way that you can just try and make yourself comfortable so that you're not lying on a cold floor while you wait for help. If you can get up, then very, very slowly, after you've taken those big deep breaths and you've done that body check and you've kind of realized that, okay, I think I can get up. The advice is to roll very slowly onto your side and then push up onto your hands and knees, making sure that you're feeling okay while you're doing this and you're not rushing. Then you can crawl over to the nearest sturdy piece of furniture. Then, using both hands, push so you can hold on to that very much, hold on to that piece of furniture, and then using your strongest leg, put your leg firmly on the floor. And then once you've got that hold and you've got that foot on the floor, then you can start to push through your hands and your strong leg to lift yourself up. and then carefully turn and sit down. Once you've got yourself up, again, take some time. There's no need to rush. Really just stay seated until your balance is fully returned and you know that you're okay. And always, always report a fall. Like, even if you feel completely fine, it's time to just let somebody know, because it could mean there's an underlying medical issue that just needs looked at, or you may feel like you're fine, but you may have done something without realizing. So it's good to you just have to let somebody know, just give them a call, or if your next support session is coming up very soon, just let them know. And then just it's time to go check in at your doctors. So just make sure nothing else has happened, or there isn't a need for some extra equipment or something that you need around the house. And never ever be afraid to call 000. If there has been a medical emergency, then this is the best thing to do rather than trying to call a family member or anything. If these have occurred to you, then it may be a little bit more difficult to call, but always just try if you can to alert someone. So some of the reasons that you would definitely call 000 immediately would be if there's been a head impact or there's been a loss of consciousness. If you, or even someone that you have found, seems a lot more confused, or that they have slurred speech, any weakness or a severe headache, that's an immediate call to 000. If there's severe pain, any kind of obvious deformity or an inability to bear weights, and then also uncontrolled bleeding, or any chest pain or shortness of breath, that is a medical emergency and needs to be responded to by ambulance. So I hope we haven't frightened you too much. This is all very much around prevention as much as we can. So falls are the leading cause of incidents for older people. So it is very much around trying to make some changes just to prevent and reduce the risk. So small changes that we discussed can actually have a really big difference to your independence. So don't feel embarrassed, or don't feel like it's a silly thing to do to talk to family members or support workers. Is actually something really sensible and just common sense to do to help you move some of those rugs, or tape down the corners, or change some light bulbs and clear pathways, really. So hopefully we've given you some nice, easy tips that you can use in your day-to-day life.
Thanks for that, Sally. Now, before we wrap up, I'll just give you where to get help on Mable. So there are 3 places to get help. We have our phone and we have our live chat, and they are the fastest way to connect with our support team. Now you can contact the phone number of 1300 736 573, and our team are available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Australian. I've got daylight savings time there. Sorry, everyone. It's Australia. It's Sydney time. Let's just say that. And our live chat is also monitored by our team, which you can find on the Mable website, which is 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. again, Sydney time. Also on our website, we have our help centre. Now on our help centre, you'll find helpful articles about a whole range of topics. And it covers everything from, support at home to support notes, rates, all of those. There's lots of topics and blogs posts on there. So if you're looking to find some answers, you can go to our help centre. And also we've created on our YouTube page a range of all of our webinars are on our YouTube page, and also lots of other videos that you can watch on Mable and how to get the best out of the platform. I'll move to the question and answer section. And we had one question in the chat, and that was from Maria. And the question was, is funding also covering the internet if you had an Alexa. I'll jump in and
Okay.
answer. Oh,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
going to.
so you got this one, Damien?
I got this one. Thank you,
Great, great.
Sally. The answer to that is no. Under the AT and HM scheme, funding does not cover ongoing internet costs. So while the scheme can be approved for voice activated assistants and smart home sensors, it's strictly for the actual asset and not the ongoing costs. Again, with anything to do with the assistive technology and home modification scheme, please speak to your approved care provider and they can assist you in applying for that funding. I'll just double check. Were there any other questions in the chat?
Shirley wanted to know if it was going to be emailed out, and yes, we will. So sometime tomorrow, Shirley, you can expect an email from us that will have the recording here as well. Any other questions for us?
If not, thank you. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I hope you found today's session valuable. And as Sally said, we hope we didn't scare you. But yeah, it's some really easy tips and to help prevent falls in this session. So before you head off, there will be a link at the end of the webinar with just a brief survey. If you could click on that link and provide some feedback on how you found the survey, how you found Sally and I, how you found the content, that would be really appreciative as it can help us, further improve our webinars as we go down the track. No scary bits from Jennifer. Thank you for this. Thanks, Jennifer. We appreciate it. So that's it from us. Thank you all again for your time, and we'll see you at our next webinar. Have a great
Bye,
afternoon.
everyone. Thanks so much for
Bye.
joining. See you later.